Hello and welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Please let me know if you can hear me in the YouTube comments. It should all be good. That's nice. Today, I want to take some time to go over the Bitcoin chart. I strongly believe we might be to the end of the triangle. So I think that this week or the upcoming week, things might get exciting again because let's be honest, over the past few, last 2 or 3 weeks, even the price action has really been boring. So hopefully that will come to an end soon. The first thing I would like to look at with you guys, and we've already looked at this a couple times, is the triangle that I've drawn out. This triangle goes back all the way to January of 2018. We've been forming this triangle basically for the last 7 months. And triangles usually break out between the 70 and 80% mark of it. So we're getting close to that. I've set support currently at $6,020, give or take a few. Of course, this can be, we have to be a little bit creative here because not a single time did we touch down at the same location. But as far as the reference goes, I think it's 6,000. That is the key number here. And then, of course, we have a resistance, which is gradually sloping down. Important to know, this is a descending triangle, not a descending wedge. These descending triangles usually break out on the downside. However, if we look at Bitcoin, for example, in 2014, let's see, previous bear market, there we go. We basically had the same pattern forming, and you cannot really see it here. Let's see. Let us go to Bitstamp. There's a little bit more historical data there. There we go. That should be it. Almost. There we go. Okay, so this is really annoying. In 2014, we basically had the same triangle. Let me just draw this real quick. There we go. And this triangle actually broke to the upside, and of course, that gives us no guarantee at all that it will be the same this time, but it could give us some past reference to look at. Of course, after the pump, there was another major bear market, so that might totally happen again. But for now, my game plan is as followed. And let's go back to Bitfinex. There we go. My game plan is this. As you can see, there is a new support forming inside the triangle. This support has existed for about 30 days, so that's basically a month. What my game plan here is to watch this support closely, and keep in mind, even though it has been broken, the price has never closed below support. So that's definitely a thing to note. If we do break this support, then my target for Bitcoin is going to be the bottom of the triangle, which basically gives us a target of 6,000. But only if we do break it. And I think this time the chance is there that we might break the resistance. Now, what happens if we break the resistance? In that case, I'm gonna put my target, and this is a real easy one. In that case, I'm gonna put my target at $10,000. Might seem a bit of a stretch, but that's also exactly what happened in the last bear market, 4 years ago. So that's gonna be my game plan. I do not intend to intraday trade, this triangle, and the reason is as follows. Some of you might have noticed some weird Bitcoin price action on several exchanges, and even though it's not on this chart, on several exchanges, some bots went crazy, basically made $1,000 moves, and I do not intend to be, stuck in those moves. So what I intend to do is to I know it's difficult, I really do, but the best thing to do here is to just wait for the price to choose a direction and then play that direction, because we might be chasing after a couple percent gains in here. um, but if we break out, that's where the real actual games are, you know and it's very important to understand that if you trade more, it doesn't mean your result is actually better. Sometimes it can be good to trade less. And as Peter Brandt likes to say, I spend 28% of my time making profits and 80% of my time protecting them. And I think this is a key lesson here for the following reason. And let me just grab something nice here that I can actually show you. Mm-mm. There we are. Gonna take a quick second, I'm sorry. Go. So I hope you can all see this. And this is, in short, the reason why I am not playing inside this triangle here. And I'm gonna explain that. If you're trading, you need to have an edge, right? And personally, my edge is pattern trading. I'm a very good pattern trader, even if I say so myself. It's what I do best. And, that is my edge. Right now, if we look at Bitcoin, there is no pattern for me to follow here. You see that? Maybe on the 5-minute chart it's different, but in general, there's no pattern for me to follow here. The pattern I'm gonna follow is this triangle. And why is it very important to stick to your strengths? And I'm gonna show you that right now. And some of you have seen it yesterday as well. If you have a system with a 50% accuracy, you are actually gonna make 15 streaks of 6 losers, at a time. So basically that means that if you throw your system out of the window and you're just gonna, trade for the sake of trading, that's the same as gambling. That you might as well go to the casino. And some people like Elliott waves, others like to rely on Bollinger Bands or MACD or whatever. But my system is pattern trading. That's what I do. And this is the pattern I'm looking at right now. This is what fits my system, and it's very important to understand. I do not fit my system to a chart, but I look for charts that fit my system. And this is a very nice example of that. I think if this does play out the way I intend it to be, this could be an extremely profitable trade. And that's what I'm chasing after right here. So that's my game plan. Let me know what you have to add in the comments. What are you currently looking at? Do you see a current pattern that you might be playing on, apart from the one that I've drawn? Let us move over to Ethereum. Ethereum paired against USD. In my last stream, I actually said that we might potentially be forming a head and shoulders here. It's a little bit distorted, obviously, but that doesn't change the fact that this might play out to be head and shoulders. As things are right now, I wouldn't play this as a head and shoulders anymore. Here's the way I would play the ETH trade. It's very simple. We've got our support and we have got our resistance right here. And right now this pattern went from being a head and shoulders into being a symmetric triangle. Now, symmetric triangles are usually a continuation pattern. And a very nice example of that is just the same chart, Ethereum, but in August, we've had this resistance right here. Let me just fix this for a second. We had our resistance, we had our support, and this is why I like pattern trading so much. We had our support. As soon as Ethereum chose a direction, that's when the game started. In here, I have no business trading. It doesn't fit my style. Right here, that's when it started. And that's basically what I'm looking at again, today. So I'm waiting for this triangle to play out. Obviously, as soon as we've chosen a direction, I will put this trade in the discords for you guys to follow. And I'm looking for a move similar to the one at the start of September. Doesn't matter if it's going to be an upwards thrust or a downwards thrust. As soon as we break out, my target is going to be as follows. If we draw our fib over the previous triangle, very nice target would have been the 1.618. And that's what I'm going to aim at again. It doesn't matter if it's going to be an up thrust or a down thrust. If we break up, my target's basically going to be the 1.618. But here's, my additional analysis. Let me remove this. If we take our indicators and we take our volume profile, just click visible range, very easy. And we basically scroll out the chart. We can see that the point of control, and this is definitely a corpse thing, is sitting at $300. Now, that's a little bit under my own target, but, I think it's wise to adjust the target to that. So $300 right there. And if you really want to play it safe, 1618 might be a very nice target. If we do break down, I'm just gonna reverse this, very easy. And I'm basically gonna aim for the 1272 because I do think $100 for Ethereum is a little bit far-fetched. It's definitely possible, but in these market conditions, I prefer to play it safe. So if we do break down, my target's basically gonna be $140. Bcash chart, please. Oh, John, why are you asking me this? Okay, I will do it. Let's do it. BCH USD. Painful. I don't like Bcash. I don't like to chart it. I don't like to add volume. I'm just against it, but then again, that's a very bad habit to have as a trader, and I know that. If you're a trader, it shouldn't really matter what you're trading as long as there is a profit to be made. It's not really a solid resistance, I would say. It has been violated like 2 different times, but then again, if you're a little bit creative, and we have to be because we are trading crypto, then I would say this is resistance. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different tests, 5 actually. How would I play this? It's very simple. As long as this resistance remains intact, I wouldn't play this. There's no reference for me as to where the actual support right now is. I think the low here might make for a good support, but there's not really any reason for me to take a trade if this would break down, because it's very unclear. It's very unclear to me, where are the reference points here? We have very little data. In fact, too little data for me to go off. But we do have data if we do break resistance. So let us draw our Fibonacci over this move here. And I just want to take this part starting in April. If we do break this resistance, I think Bcash could go on a very nice run. And my targets would be definitely the first Fibonacci level. I don't use this level very often as a target, but that being said, if we take this line here and we just do it all over the chart, we mark it the whole chart, we can see that this Fibonacci level right here has been extremely respected over the past year. Obviously in August, has been tested on two occasions. Then in October, November, it has been tested. It has been tested on March of 2018, then on July 2018, and August 2018. So, I would say this is the most respected level of this instrument, and that's where my target would be. If there's a breakout, we would have to take our long tool. If breakout were to happen here, where would the stop be? Where would the target be? Obviously, the target would be at $687, and my stop would be just below the broken support or the broken resistance, which would then be support. So this would make for a very nice trade indeed. If it does break out, um, I would say this chart looks pretty good. Then that might be a nice play. We can take our RSI and our MACD tool, see if there's any divergence, and there seems to be at least some divergence. So I just want to take this to the daily, basically get the same chart, but the MACD RSI get cleared up a little bit. You can see that we made a lower low, and it's very important to understand this. The RSI is calculated by the open and the close, or actually the close of the candle. Wicks are not calculated for in the RSI. So I never, when I draw support resistance here, I never put them on the wicks. And a very good way to actually make it more clear is to put a line chart, just change it from bars to line and draw your support resistance that way. And we can see that the RSI and the MACD both have diverged. And we can also note that basically this hasn't occurred any other time. So that's definitely a good sign for Bcash, even though I hate to say it. And if this trade does play out, if it does actually break resistance, then it might be a good time to long. So, I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes on Bcash, and I never thought I would say this. XRP is the next request. I'm gonna pair it against the dollar. Obviously do a Bitcoin chart, but we have something with more data. No, we don't. Okay, I'm gonna pair it against Bitcoin just because there is a hell of a lot more data here. If I'm maybe in the liberty to say this, I think XRP is one of the most manipulated altcoins out there. I'm allergic to it. I think it's very unreliable to patterns, to a lot of other trading strategies as well. And this is basically for my strategy, for my trading style, I would say XRP is untradeable. That being said, I would put support resistance at 7,350 Satoshis. Currently, it seems like we're gonna close the day below that. So if anything, I would short this at the moment. I have learned that in a way, XRP actually does accept support resistances, even though the chart is very erratic. But they're violated quite easily. And I'm not a fan of giving any buying or selling signals or whatever on XRP just because it's so damn unclear. And that's basically all I have to say about it. If you look at the previous pumps and dumps, so to say, because that's what they are basically. You can see that every time when XRP started moving up, it did so violently, and it did not really end its run until it was finished. And right now, we have had a pretty good dump over the past 17 days. So if anything, I would short this, but personally, I'm staying away from this. Then we have another request, which I find very interesting. 0x. 0x is actually one of my long-term holds, so to say, for the reason that a lot of its advisors, and I actually do mean a lot, are part of Coinbase. And obviously, we all know that if a coin gets on Coinbase, that it pumps astronomically, especially alts. So my bet here on ZRX is long term, has nothing to do with day trading. That being said, we can basically draw our support here. I would say this would count as support. Let me just adjust that a little bit like that. And then our resistance is currently sitting at at 13,700 satoshis. My best guess, and this really is a best guess, it's not based on anything solid because a resistance needs to have 3 tests, as I say so many times. Currently, we have only 2 touches here, so it's not an actual valid resistance. That being said, I think ZRX is going to create a nice wedge here. Again, I wouldn't play this as long as it's in the wedge. When it breaks out of the wedge, that's a different story. But it seems like this might take another, 50 days, 60 days, who knows, right? Definitely gonna keep an eye on this one. It's not something that I would trade right now. I believe that when Bitcoin breaks out, that's gonna also break out a lot of alts out of their wedges, out of their resistances, whatever. And that brings me to Sia Coin. Sia Coin is actually an active call that I currently have ongoing. I would like to check this out on Bittrex. There we go. If we take this chart, and we draw our resistance, you can basically see that we have broken out of the resistance. And that is also when I made the call. Currently, we are well on our way to the upside. There's not really a sign of weakness at this moment. I'm not sure if we check the 4-hourly charts if it's going to be any different, but I would say that this looks pretty good, right? Seems like we are forming a bull flag here. This definitely qualifies as a bull flag, and this should only push us further up. Now, where's my target? Target is obviously in the Discord, but my first and foremost target is gonna be, let me just pop it here, horizontal array. It's gonna be 200 satoshis. I think that's a very reasonable target if you want to play it safe. And I suggest you do. 150 satoshis might be a good target as well. There's no real resistance all the way up until let's say 128 satoshis. So if you're just a scalper, 128 satoshis might be a nice level for you. Obviously, what is important here, if you do not have a position yet, if this bull flag breaks down, then you might not want to get a position, but it wouldn't be a bad time to get a position today. Because I think when this thing actually breaks out of the bull flag, it might all go pretty fast. And the reason is that this is a very long accumulation time, 275 days. So that's close to 3/4 of a year, and it should definitely give the Bulls some space to do their thing. Also, one more thing to note, and we're just gonna go back to the daily for this. is the following. Let's see. No, line. There we go. Even though there is no actual divergence here, and let me just demonstrate this. There's no divergence. That being said, I do think the RSI and the MACD have made a massive, massive move compared to just the price, the price action. So that definitely shows us that there's some life in SIA, and that I've made a pretty big bet on SIA right now. Let's see. We've got EOS and VET. EOS, gonna do that first. Pair against Bitcoin. As I've been saying for the last, couple months, my buy range for EOS is between 50,000 and 70,000 Satoshis. There's no immediate reason for me to start trading this right now. When would there be a reason for me to start trading this right now? Obviously I had some buy orders. About half of them got filled. The other half, yeah, well, too bad. Doesn't matter. But, even though hold on a second. Let me just get this right. I think this is the easiest way to do it. Even though one could say that we've broken out of the resistance, we've 1, 2, 3 tests here, there has not really been any sign of life from EOS. So I think this is an invalid resistance. And I think, there's no real reason for this to be longed or shorted. Now, one other way to look at it, and as I've said, it's not actually valid, but we might be forming a wedge here. We might. Okay, we've got 2 tests here. When it gets confirmed by a 3rd test, and obviously we don't have to act at all when this resistance is being tested, but if it gets confirmed, then this might be something that I would want to actually play. I would want to play on this wedge. But for now, it's an unconfirmed wedge, and that's dangerous. It doesn't fit my system. Not much else to say about this, actually. Obviously, if you have a different kind of system, if you have like Elliott waves or whatever Bollinger Bands, it's a different story. But for me, this is not really something that I would be very interested in currently. VeChain, gonna chart it on. Let's see, what is the longest history? I think it's Binance. There we go. This is actually funny because, I was like pretty convinced that VeChain was making the following wedge. Let me just draw this out. I was pretty convinced that VeChain was making the following wedge, and the reason I didn't act on it will, be there in a second. But, this would for me count as a wedge. And the reason is, but some people might say, hey, look at this, it got violated. No, it didn't. If we go to the hourly chart, you can see that it broke out. It tested this resistance 2 different times, and then it broke down again. Another test, another test, another test, and then it broke out. But, the price didn't react at all. And for me, that's a sign that, it was maybe not an actual resistance. So, of course, the support is absolutely solid as far as I'm concerned. We can see that it has been tested many, many times and it has always held. So, if you are a strong believer in VeChain, I know there are many, many VeChain fans who are strong believers, then you might want to consider to fill your bags here. And as soon as its support gets broken, you might want to get out. Um, but even this would make a very nice trade. Long position, if you buy here, you set your stop below support and your target at resistance. That's a risk reward ratio of 2.6, which is pretty good. It's going to be especially interesting once we break out of the longer term wedge, and that's something I would personally play. Um, but for now, again, not much action required. And I know, I know people, it's very boring. The whole market is boring right now, but you have to know when it is a good time to trade and when it is a bad time to trade. And it's just like any other business, people. If you're selling Christmas trees, when are you gonna spend money on ads for Christmas trees? Is that gonna be, close to Christmas in winter? Or are you gonna spend a lot of money on ads in the summer to sell Christmas trees, right? Those are market conditions, and these market conditions exist in the real retail business. But of course, they also exist in the trading business, because if you're a trader, you're actually running a business, you know? And if you're somebody that spends a huge sum on ads for Christmas trees in the summer, you might sell an extra Christmas tree, but most of the money is going to be wasted. So if you actually know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and act to that, and that's really something I'm trying to do, then you will be a far more successful trader. And I think the exciting times are coming again. And I just want to take one quick last look at Bitcoin, you know, for the following reason. This is actually a fulcrum bottom, compound fulcrum. You can read about compound fulcrums in the following book. Let me get the name right. Um, Traditional Analysis of the Financial Market. I believe it was Classical Analysis of the Financial Markets. That's the one. And basically, what it is, it's nothing more than a head and shoulders on the bottom of a chart that looks disordered. This is what it looks like. Compound fulcrum bottom. There we go. This is what a compound fulcrum looks like. If we take our Bitcoin chart, you can see that it's starting to look quite similar, doesn't it? And that's also the reason why I'm personally betting on a breakout to the top side. And if we can remain patient and not get stuck in any wrong positions and not just waste our money trying to gain 1 or 2%, then the following trade could make us, it could increase our stacks by a very, very large sum. So let us be patient, let us wait, let us not overtrade the market. And when the time is there, and I do believe that could be really soon, then we're gonna make some stacks and everything's gonna be all right. So yeah, that pretty much covers it for now. I plan to do a launch party in the Discord 15 minutes from now. But I will make an announcement on that because I actually do have to drive home real quick. I'm still at my office. So I'm gonna talk to you guys there. Please note, even if you do not have a microphone, you can participate in the launch parties by just typing in the chat. So feel free to join anytime. I wish you all a great Sunday evening, and the next stream will be on tomorrow, actually. So have a great weekend, what remains of it, and talk soon.